Well, this is take three. Let's see how this one goes. It is February 23rd, and our Foyer talk this day comes to us from Matthew chapter 5 and verse 48, where Jesus said, "You therefore must be perfect, even as your heavenly Father is perfect." And this is an intimidating verse. I usually attach it to 1 Peter, where Peter writes, "Be holy even as your heavenly Father is holy." And let me say this, I don't usually attach it to that verse. I always attach it to that verse. And therefore, it is almost always in my mind, my thinking is about my conduct. Almost always, my thinking when it comes to be perfect as my heavenly Father is perfect is about how I conduct myself, my morals, which when, to be honest with you, when I'm living a little bit fleshly, when I've had a particularly bad week, I'm not very encouraged in approaching God. Because, wow, he's so holy, he's so perfect. The Bible actually says that he dwells in unapproachable light. But at the same time, I am always aware of Hebrews chapter 4, where we are encouraged to approach boldly the throne of grace that we might find grace and mercy in our time of need. I am reminded of the fact that we are encouraged to, with confidence, approach Jesus who dwells in an approachable light. And so Jesus in verse 48 says, "Be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect," setting the standard so high we'll never, ever, ever approach there. So what are we to do with this? Are we to be discouraged because we're not holy and he is? Or are we to just ignore that and brashly go through the throne of grace with boldness and with confidence because Jesus says so, and ignore our morals, ignore our conduct? Well, not at all. So the question is, how can we, or how is it possible for us to approach God who sits on, who is enthroned and who dwells in light that is unapproachable and who is perfect and is perfectly holy, even though we are not? Well, the first thing is this. We go there and approach with boldness because, well, first of all, it's a throne of grace. But the second reason why we approach with boldness is the reason why we might be tempted to not approach at all, because our Heavenly Father is perfect and we're not. And so back to verse 48 of Matthew chapter 5. "You, therefore," Jesus says, "therefore," because of what I just now said, "you, therefore, must be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect." Based on what I just now said, be perfect. Well, what had Jesus just then said? Verse 43. "You have heard that it was said, 'You shall love your neighbor and hate your enemies.' But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be sons of your Father who is in heaven." Sons bear the image of their Father. "For he, God, makes his sun, his provision, his care, rise on those who are evil and those who are good. He sends rain on those who are just and on the unjust. For if you love those who love you, what reward do you have? Do not even the tax collectors do the same? If you care for those who care for you, you're no better than a tax collector." Everybody does that. "And if you greet only your brothers, what more are you doing than others? Do not even the Gentiles do the same?" He said, if you are nice to people who are nice to you, if you have relationship with those who are close to you and engage them, you're just like everybody else. And God is perfect. He is not like everybody else. He's perfect in his love, and that his love extends not just to those who are close to him, but his loving, practical care, the sun rising and the rain falling, provision being made, extends not just to those who are his closest friend, but to those who are persecutors, to those who are evil. And because God is perfect in his love, in such that it extends to everybody, particularly to those who are trying to serve him well. I should have confidence, and you should have confidence, that we approaching the throne of God, looking for grace, grace to be perfect as our Heavenly Father is, grace that we might bear his image and love in the same way that he does, we can have confidence because the one who sits on the throne isn't just perfectly holy, but he is also at the same time perfectly loving. And so we ought to, this day, approach the throne of grace to love like him. Here's what God's love does. When we approach God, who sits in unapproachable light, he receives us. See, God's love isn't a disqualifying love. God's perfection is not a disqualifying perfection. God's holiness is not a disqualifying holiness. God desires to bring us in, and in his perfection, he will receive all who come to him, no matter how far gone they are, no matter how unholy and unrighteous and unloving they are, because his love overcomes a multitude of evils, including our sin. So we come to him and we ask for help, for forgiveness, and for grace to become like him. May we be more like Jesus today. May we be perfect, or more perfect, as we approach the one who is perfect in every way. God bless you.